Hi, Ted Rubin here. I have Pete Krainik visiting, and we're about to have some lunch, and I thought I'd talk to him about the CMO Club and what his plans are for 2011 and how social media affects some of what he does and just his general business plans overall for the coming year.
Ted, great seeing you again. I always enjoy when you buy me lunch. I want to go on record there and say that. So background of the club. So I've been very fortunate in my career, worked for a number of companies, M&M Mars, Siebel Systems, with CMO, DoubleClick, EVP of Marketing at Avaya. And as a CMO myself, I grew tired of going to lousy CMO events where I would go and I'd have to sit through another, 4 steps to email marketing effectiveness presentation, or I'd have vendors follow me into the bathroom or following me back to my car or spamming me the next 5 days. So basically, as a result of that, got 5 or 6 CMOs together that were friends and got together about 3 years ago in New York, and I said, let's just get together behind closed doors in a private setting and openly talk about our challenges, issues, and help each other. In fact, Ted, I think you were at ELF Cosmetics then. I think we're part of one of the first couple dinners we had, if I remember correctly. So what started as a labor of love, after about a year or two, we're up to 100 CMOs that were interested in it. So basically formed the club officially about 2.5 years ago, and now we have 700 members. We're adding about 20 to 30 a month, and we meet every couple months in about 25 cities around the world.
Well, Pete, that's really interesting, and I have to tell you that I love being a part of those dinners because I've met incredible people, I've made great contacts, and one of the things I love best about your concept is that you're not just bringing in CMOs of Fortune 500 or Fortune 1000 companies, but that you bring in people from small companies and large companies alike. And what I've come to recognize is that even the CMOs from companies like Hewlett-Packard, Kodak, and a lot of the large businesses that you have involved, they're happy to have the smaller CMOs, the guys that are working with the startup companies, with the small growth businesses, because they want to hear their input, because they learn from them as well as us learning from them. So maybe you could tell me a little bit about, how that happened and how you've really gotten everybody to be happy with that kind of a format.
What's interesting is if we had started the club 10 years ago, before social media, before the changing consumer patterns and technology had really changed that whole engagement strategy, I think it would have been less valuable to have all the different size companies together to a bit. But what's happening now is with this whole, marketing is different. It's not just big ad agency, big, 30-second spot promotions, etc. It's that whole gamut. So now more and more the large company CMOs are literally looking for that expertise from some of the smaller guys that maybe don't have the bigger budgets and are having to be aggressive. I mean, look what you did with ELF Cosmetics, how you grew that business, same kind of thing. They're looking for that expertise, number one. I think that's a big piece of it. I think the second thing is you have more and more CMOs that have big company backgrounds that have now moved to startups and smaller companies, and they have this massive expertise, but then now they're leveraging it in different ways. So you're absolutely right. I think that's a huge differentiator for the club and why CMOs enjoy it so much.
That's great, Pete. Let me ask you a question, because the way I see it is, I preach a lot about ROI, return on relationship. I think social media is so perfect an environment for that because it's networking on steroids and the ability to communicate with people very, very aggressively and with a lot of people in a lot of places. And I kind of think that a lot of these CMOs, they recognize the relationship and how valuable that is on a one-to-one basis or for people they know. But do you think they're starting to recognize the value of that for their corporations and for their companies, rather than just ROI, rather than strict, I spent this amount of dollars and this is the return I got? Do you think they're taking the personal relationships that they've seen valuable and seeing that that can be valuable for their company as well?
Ted, good question. I'll tell you, I think the answer to that question, the CMOs that get it and are approaching it that way are really differentiating themselves from the pack. Mm-hmm. And a couple examples. So I think the short answer is yes, a subset are getting it. And what they're doing is it's not about just only customer engagement. It's how do you engage your whole employee base, how do you engage your partners, your distributors, etc. I'll give you an example. Phil Clement at Aon's done a wonderful job. Hewlett-Packard, Mike Mendenhall and that crew, when they rolled out their new campaign, they actually put 30-second spots or video clips together and stuff geared toward their employees, not just the customer, to get them engaged and excited about it. Getting back to Phil Clement at Aon, have a Facebook group of employees around the world that are actually sharing ideas, providing input to the corporation and things like that, and then they're not being judged. The executives within Aon, for example, are responding and building that relationship. So I think that's one example. So I think the light is going on, and I think more and more CMOs are saying, yes, there's certain specifics about call to action and e-commerce side and retail side, you have to get some ROI around it. but it's also more about building that relationship and fundamentally changing the PR, corporate communication versus marketing, alignment of some years back.